for the Mazhar. And now with that said, I'd like to call up our keynote speaker for tonight, Dr. Mohammad Abbasi. I don't think he needs any introduction whatsoever. We hear him every month in our khutbahs. Brother Abbasi.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. When we think about the community, I was asked to speak about the future of the community and how can we build the community. When we think about the community, we have to define which community are we talking about. Are we talking about Darul Islah? Are we talking about northern New Jersey? Are we talking about Muslims in the United States or Muslims around the world? وَأَنَّ هَذِهِ أُمَّتُكُمْ أُمَّةٌ وَاحِدَةٌ وَأَنَا رَبُّكُمْ فَاعْبُدُونَ. Allah Azza wa Jal says, your ummah is one ummah, your community is one community, and I'm your Lord, worship me. So Allah Azza wa Jal refers to us as one ummah. Why do we think of us as different ummahs, different communities? So to start this talk with you, I'd like to remind you of a conversation that you and I have in our head that many times we don't verbalize, but it's in our head. And that conversation is, Ya Allah, why are we so weak? Why are we so irrelevant? Why is it that nobody pays attention to us like we don't even exist? 1.6 billion, almost 1.7 billion. They take Bayt al-Maqdis from us, and they leave us in a lurch, unable to do anything about it. What is going on here? This question has been buzzing in my ear since 1967. At that time, I was a kid. I was born in 55, so in 67, you do the math. I was 12 years old, right? 12 years old. And I saw how we lost Bayt al-Maqdis. I was living in Jordan at that time. My father was stationed, he was with the army, and we were stationed in Jordan. And even a 12-year-old wants to know why all of these people, these nations with their armies and their missiles, Qahir, Dhafir, Al-Ikhwa اللي بيتذكروا, those people who remember they had names, their scuds had names. And they were supposed to somehow drive the enemy into the sea and all of this, and it didn't happen. And instead, we wound up losing the West Bank and Bayt al-Maqdis included, of course, my own village in Jerusalem. We lost Sinai, we lost the Golan Heights, we lost this, we lost that. And on top of it all, and more important, we lost our dignity and our honor. Wallahi, you became ashamed to call yourself a Muslim after that day, or an Arab for that matter. So that question has been buzzing in my head for years. And I've been in this country for 43 years. In the 43 years, to various degrees, I can't lie to you and tell you that I lay awake at night worrying about Palestine. I would be lying to you. But a lot of my adult life, especially in the latter years, I've spent pondering this question about the affairs of our ummah and why are we so weak. And when I felt disabled and paralyzed and unable to come up with any meaningful answer, those of you who know me know what I did. I went back to school. I felt that there's got to be an answer out there. There's got to be a way for me to find out what to do. And I have to find out. I went back to school. I humbled myself in 2012, 13 actually. And for the past 4 years, I've been sitting in classes learning about issues related to community building. And by accident, I'm done with all the courses. I'm now writing the dissertation. I'm done with my PhD. And now I'm finding out at a very later stage, this book here called To Dwell in Unity, tells the story of how the Jewish community picked itself up from the gutter where they were in much worse shape than we are to where they are right now. This book, I'll read to you just one statement written by the editor-in-chief of Jewish Telegraphic Agency. Listen to what he says about the book. He says this book does not miss a nuance in the development of Jewish organizational life. Those of you who know the word nuance, nuance means minutest detail. So like if you were making an argument, somebody may say to you, a professor would say to you, can you give more nuance? The word nuance means more detail, dig a little deeper. Does not leave. So how? If you read just the first 10 pages, it tells you the whole story. It tells you the whole story. What these people did basically is they came together and they said the first thing they decided to do is to do community fundraising instead of center fundraising. So you see, wherever they started in Cincinnati and then in Boston, 2 federations. They went and they said, as a community, we are going to raise funds in the name of the community, not in the name of Bani Ibrahim and Bani Isaac and Bani this and Bani that, the different rabbis. No, they said we are going to collect together. And then they created a board made up of representatives from those centers, and the board became in charge of distributing the money to the different projects that they had, the different centers. So now every person in the community writes one main check per year to that agency, to that federation, and the federation distributes the money. And that's how they built themselves up. It sounds so simple. I'll read to you just the introduction. The logic of Jewish Federation is so clear and convincing that it is disarming. In other words, nobody can argue that. They went ahead and did it. So, to answer the question of how can we build a community, look, the first step you do as a scholar, and this is one of the things I learned recently, is before you start from scratch, you find out what others did before you. That's it. It's called, what do we know already about this topic? You cannot write a scholarly paper without doing what's called literature search, which is to find out what others have said about the topic that you're talking about before you. And I said in last khutbah, in khutbah al-Jum'ah, even the Prophet ﷺ in the Quran says what? He says, مَا كُنْتُ بِدْعًا مِنَ الرُّسُلِ. He ﷺ lays down this foundation by saying, even though I am Muhammad ibn Abdullah, I am Khatam al-Mursaleen, I am still not a bid'an min al-Rasul. I'm not the first one to innovate this thing. There was Musa, wa Isa, wa Ibrahim, Yahya, there was Nuh, there was all these prophets before me. I'm only continuing the message. And yet we behave and we continue to behave as if nobody was born before us. First lesson I learned in my business life in 2000. I sat in front of a chairman of our company in a small group. And the first thing he taught us, he said, I want you to understand one thing. If you are going to succeed, you have to realize this one thing that I learned from my mentor. He learned it from his mentor. And that lesson was, people have lived before us. That was the lesson. He said it in a Texan slang. He said, people have lived before you. I'm like, what? Come again? People have lived before you. And I'm like, what do you mean? It means don't start from scratch. The biggest innovations are not innovations from zero. They are building on something that's already been established. Read the book 1001 Inventions, the inventions of the Muslims throughout the history. They are at the root and at the bottom of every single modern innovation that we have today, from the steamboat to the engine, to the internal combustion engine, to optics, to the camera, you name it. It has a foundation in something that was developed earlier. So here's my first point. My first point is we don't need to start from zero. And the people who started and succeeded beyond their wildest imaginations. Is there a community in America right now stronger than the Jewish community? Yes or no? No. And here's their story. They put it in a book. You can pick it up from Amazon for $4, and you can read it and you can copy it. It's right here. Why aren't we doing it? نحن أمة لا تقرأ. We are an ummah that does not read. That's the bottom line. If we learn how to read, If instead of spending hours and hours and hours on Facebook, and I say this to my young brothers, not just the parents who have to keep 2 jobs to put bread on the table, but to my children's generation. Instead of spending hours and hours on Facebook and watching mindless TV and shows and all this nonsense, why not grab a book? Wallahi, my last plan is to try to read a book a day. If I can do it, why can't you? I'm 62 years old. If I can have the will to do that and the ability to do that. And that doesn't mean that I would read every single word. Some of these books are 1,000 pages in their size. But you learn how to skim. You learn how to pull the most important ideas. So that's the first lesson the first thought that I wanted to share with you is that we don't necessarily need to start from zero. We need to humble ourselves and learn from people who have preceded us. And it doesn't matter whether they're Jewish or Christian or whatever. Success is success. You can't argue with success. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Utlub al-ilm walau fi Sin." Seek knowledge even if it's in China. How far is China? Seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. So the first thing we need to do is to humble ourselves and to be willing to learn. And to induce each other to learn. Number 2, and I mentioned this in the khutbah, but I didn't elaborate on it. We need to seek experts in specific fields that we need in our community. We cannot continue to have amateurs running the show. And this is not meant to be an insult or it's not meant to demean anyone whatsoever. Everybody who contributes, whether it's a board member or an executive committee member or a volunteer, Jazahumullahu khairan. But we need to place certain people in certain places. If we have an accounting department in the masjid, it should be run by an accountant. That seems obvious. Why do we have issues related to community development in the hands of somebody who has never developed even, I don't know what to tell you, a chicken coop or something? Why do we do that? And again, this is not about this community. I travel around the country and around the state, and I give khutbah Jum'ah each week in a different masjid. So I'm in touch with other communities, and I repeat the same message everywhere I go. I say to them, where are the experts? The other day, I was talking to a brother in ICPC about a general subject like this. It turns out this brother is is a renowned expert in sustainable development. He works at the United Nations. He developed sustainable development plans for nations. He submitted a plan for Iraq in 2008, one for Lebanon in 2009, one for Syria in 2012. I mean, this brother is written internationally. And he shared with me some of his papers. He just blew me away. And this guy sits with us in Salat al-Fajr, and he has to wait his turn until 14 others who have no idea what they're talking about finish talking so that he can take his turn and say a few words. What kind of nonsense is this? This is somebody who should lift on a pedestal and say to him, you talk, we'll listen. The whole world listens to him. If people like Kofi Annan would sit down, presidents of nations sit down and listen to him and read his reports, why is he sitting among us talking to us like he was one of us? He's not. Ya akhwa, if you had a stenosis, aortic stenosis or something in your heart, you would go to a cardiologist. If Dr. Sultan was sitting there, you and I would be ashamed to open our mouth while a cardiac surgeon, a professor of cardiology is sitting among us. We would say, Dr. Sultan, what do you think? And yet when it comes to building community, everybody is an expert, subhanAllah. And then we wonder, why are we failing so miserably? Because we have no idea what we're talking about. I didn't come here to bash this community. One thing I know for sure, that it is always great to think of what we have instead of what we don't have. But that doesn't mean that we cannot mention what we don't have so that we can appreciate what we do have. So now, what do we have? We have our brotherhood. Our brotherhood can be the ultimate replacement of our organizational unity. Let me explain what that means. To unite our organizations is near impossible. Don't even think about it. 3,000 Islamic organizations in the United States, Ibn Khaldun, in his book Al-Muqaddimah, the beginning of his history encyclopedia, Al-Muqaddimah, by the way, it's available on Amazon for $800 for a used copy, if anybody is interested. And if you're lucky and your library has a copy, pick it up and read it. In his book Al-Muqaddimah, he's the founder of sociology, by the way, in case you ever wondered who's Ibn Khaldun. Ibn Khaldun said in Al-Muqaddimah, Al-Arabu ummatun hamajiyya. The Arabs are a savage nation, savage ummah, that can only be ruled by the power of asabiyya, which means clanship, or deen. In other words, that there is somebody like Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab who has power from Abu Bakr, from the Prophet ﷺ, something like that. لا تحكمهم إلا العرب أمة همجية لا يحكمها إلا سلطان من عصبية أو دين. Something like that. This is what he said. So, if Ibn Khaldun stated this hundreds of years ago, why would it have changed? It hasn't changed. So what's the alternative? Am I just giving you bad news that we will never unite? No, I'm telling you we need to look for an alternative. The alternative is to rely on a slightly lower ceiling than for us to be totally organized and totally united like these people are. At least, we can rely on our brotherhood to get along together and to come up with some projects that will help our children. Which brings me to the other issue. Instead of deciding on what we need for our community in a boardroom, why not involve the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders? Let me give you the definition of stakeholders. Stakeholders are everyone that can be affected by our actions or have an effect on our actions. In other words, everybody. So let's start with who can be affected. We're saying that we want to make this a strong community. Yes, we do. Does anybody disagree with that? We are all in agreement. That's why we're here. And many people who are not here would agree with us. So we agree with that we need to make this a strong community. But who gets to decide what the word strong means? And strong for whom? 30 years ago, we didn't have old people among us. We were all young. I came here, I was a teenager. Now I have an 82-year-old father at home, immobilized and can't go anywhere. And I know many of my brothers and sisters who have parents like that. We have our fathers and uncles in their 80s, and some of them in their 90s, with no community to belong to. They are staying at home waiting to die. Is this acceptable, brothers? So here's the first part of our community that we need to listen to. They're the ones that gave us what we have right now, our parents. Jazahum Allahu khairan. May Allah reward them for what they've done for us. Now, Allahu Akbar. What about our children? We're here today. How much longer are we going to be here? Every day I hear about a brother who's in his 50s or 60s dropping dead from cardiac arrest or something or the other, or stroke. These things are happening. So my generation is, in 10 years, probably half of my generation will be gone. Have we prepared our children, these young people sitting on the table and many others who are not here? Have we prepared them to take the leadership from us? Have we prepared them to run these centers the way we are doing them right now? According to Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah and all of these things that we treasure, you know, the proper fiqh, proper jurisprudence, proper everything. Have we done that? The brother mentioned was saying about the Jewish and Christian centers that are being sold, the synagogues and the churches. And he said that they are probably being sold, and I respect his opinion, being sold because they are empty and nobody's in attendance. Well, I hate to burst your bubble, brother. The truth is, many of these centers, some are closing because of lack of attendance. But at least when it comes to the Jewish community, many of the centers that are being sold are being upgraded. They're being sold for $7 million after they became dilapidated and worthless. And they are replacing them with $50 million centers. Look up JCCs. There's 50 JCC, Jewish community centers in the area, and we've done the research. Many of them are upgrading their community centers, their buildings and their facilities. They are selling them used and dilapidated and in need of asbestos abatement and everything under the sun for as much as $7 or $8 million. We come in happy thinking that they're selling it because they don't have kids anymore somehow. And yet, instead of these dilapidated centers, they are building not far away from that same center $50 million facilities. So let's stop kidding ourselves, ya akhi. We can buy them, that's fine. But we need to learn from these people that the future of our children has to be paramount and it has to be on top of our mind. That requires that we have financial stability. It requires that we have leadership stability. It requires that we have what is called in social science capacity. The term capacity building, when I introduced it at a board meeting of a national organization that is considered one of the oldest and most respected organizations with a long history of work in this field. And I said to them, our community needs capacity building. They looked at me as if I was speaking Greek. Like, brother, what are you introducing terms that we never heard before? I looked at them and I said, it simply means the ability to get things done. The term that's used for it's called capacity building. And then I discovered that there are some communities like our community that lack the capacity to build capacity. Before you build capacity, you need to know what capacity is, and I witnessed that. Before we build capacity, before we become a community that's able to provide for its elderly, for its women, our sisters that don't have a place to go. The boys go swim and everything, and the sisters get to sit at home and do anything. Why? Doesn't the Quran say, وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ? Why is it that all of our facilities are geared towards the boys, and yet the girls get to stay home and watch TV? What kind of nonsense is this? Why don't we have facilities for our sisters? How about the mothers that are raising our children? Why don't they have a place where they can go and relieve themselves from all the pressure of raising kids? And the children. What about our children? Why don't we have facilities for them? All of this requires sacrifices, yes, but it requires more than that. It's called capacity building. And capacity building needs people that know what capacity building is. At a minimum, two things: resources, funds, the willingness to fork that money, to spend fi sabilillah, to ask ourselves, what am I going to do with all this money that I'm accumulating? Is any of it going to go with us to the grave? None. So why are we hoarding it? Doesn't the Quran say, الَّذِينَ يَكْنِزُونَ الذَّهَبَ وَالْفِضَّةَ? Allah Azza wa Jal didn't speak nicely about those who pile up dhahab and fidda, gold and silver. So we need to build our community treasure chest. We need to build a community chest just like these people did. But more importantly, and this is, I touched on this in Surah, in Khutbah al-Jum'ah, Surah Shura, where Allah Azza wa Jal says, شرع لكم من الدين ما وصى به نوحا والذي أوحينا إليك أن أقيموا الدين ولا تتفرقوا فيه. Establish the deen, but don't get divided. So at least stay together while you are establishing the deen. So we need to have the capacity to build capacity, meaning we need to have leaders among us. We need to pick people and put them in the right place. And everybody is needed, ya ikhwa. We cannot drive away anybody. Anyone who is willing to contribute fi sabilillah, we need to find a place for them. We need to have people who have the ability to study people and see this person will be good in public relations, this one will be good in fundraising, this one would be good in management, this one would be good in accounting. We need to put people in the right place, and then everybody else, takfir sawad, then they add to the population of the workers. They make us feel good about ourselves. So we need money and we need people. And I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us those two things, even though I believe we have them. For in the dua that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam taught us, which Ibn Qayyim made as the main subject of his book, Al-Ma'arif Al-Saniyya. You all remember, many of you remember the dua where he says, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazan. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from ham, which is worry about something that didn't happen, and hazan, which is sadness over something that had already passed. Huh? But the part that interests me is the next part. وَمِنَ الْعَجْزِ وَالْكَسَلِ. And I pondered ajz and kasal, what is the difference? Ajz is to lack capacity. In modern language, is to not have the ability to do what you need to do. That's ajz. Ajz means somebody who's disabled. Ajz, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-ajzi wal-kasal. Kasal is to have that ability and to not use it. In other words, to have health and to be able to volunteer and go. Today there's a huge demonstration in Washington, to have the ability to get on a bus and go there and stand with the brothers for Palestine and so on. To not do that out of laziness, that's al-kasal. That's al-kasal, which is laziness. And then he says, وَمِنَ الْجُبْنِ وَالْبُخْلِ. A jubn is to be a coward. A coward is to have the power and not use it when you should use it. Wal-bukhl is to have the money and not use it for the causes where you need to use it. This hadith didn't leave anything out. It's a dua, actually, where you ask Allah to protect you from all of these things. So again, one more thing, one more time. Al-ajz wal-kasal is what I want to warn you about. Do we have ajz? Are we really deprived of the ability, or is it kasal? Are we really without resources? Or is it that we have the resources but we are holding back? I submit to you, and this is my theory, I don't have any statistics, but just judging from what I see out there, from our houses, our cars, how we dress, how we eat, how we drink, all of these, this is material evidence, and it's all indicators that tells us how we are. We are probably one of the wealthiest communities living in this country. I heard a study more than 20 years ago in 1990. Brother Sulaiman Bihiri and his group did this study that said at that time that the Muslim community in the United States has a higher GDP than Saudi Arabia. Think about that. Our community has tens of thousands of physicians, engineers, professionals, people that own businesses. We have our GDP, our gross domestic product, which is the total of all the money that we earn, is probably still more than that of a country like Saudi Arabia. So what is left, brothers and sisters, what is left is for us to put our heads together and to have a serious conversation about how can we pick ourselves up. Can we change the affairs of the entire ummah around the world? Probably not. In the United States, probably not. But can we at least start in Darul Islah? And maybe if we build this community, other communities would learn and would say, you know, what did you guys do? Let's do the same thing. Somebody has to start somewhere. And that's a very well-known model where you start somewhere and then you upscale it. That's what we need. And this community has all the elements that are needed. It has the intelligence, it has the education, it has the power, it has the money, it has the resources, it has the potential. It's all in here. So tonight, inshallah, you are being asked to contribute to this project. Why is this project important? Real estate is always important, brothers. I was just telling the brothers, a Palestinian man living across the street from Al-Haram al-Ibrahimi, the Ibrahimi Mosque in Hebron, has 2 stores and 1 apartment building where he lives with his family. They offered him $100 million to sell it to them, and he refused to sell it. $100 million. Real estate is important. This piece of real estate may not seem important to you now, but in the future, somebody will probably come to you and say, would you sell it to us for millions of dollars? This happened to us in Union City. That center in Union City, I negotiated the contract. I was in real estate at that time. We bought for $1.6 million. And we paid it over 6 years. Brother Yasin remembers. Years later, they came to us. They wanted to buy it, and they wanted to turn it into a metro station for the light rail. And when we refused to sell it, they were willing to pay $10, $15 million if we accepted. They went and they bought a fast food lot next to us, and they converted that to a station. You can see it, it's still there. My point is, we can't lose by owning real estate. Across the street from the masjid, why not? It may seem like a lot of money, but inshallah in the future, we will look back and say, it's good that we did. ICPC has already bought the whole street in front of the masjid. Now the question is, what do we do with it? That requires a serious conversation, and inshallah it's coming. The question is, what will you do here? The map that the brother put is very promising. It shows that, here it is. Dr. Habib's property is the green one, I guess, right? And the yellow one is already leased by Darul Islah. And usually when somebody leases you something, at some point, they'll probably say to you, would you like to buy it? I've seen that quite often. And then what happens after you get the yellow and the green, then the red one, inshallah, someday will become for sale. And we will be the highest bidders. If we bid $1,000 over, the next bidder will probably get it, because people only care about money. And that's the bottom line. So to have a property like this across the street from the masjid, this could be a youth center for your children. It could be an adult daycare center for your father and my father. It could be a place where the sisters can gather. It could be all of the above. And it's all entirely up to you. So tonight, inshallah, I'd like to see who would like to start the fundraising tonight, inshallah, by giving out towards this goal, inshallah, a good amount that we would, inshallah, make dua for him. I like to start with maybe $5,000. I think that's a reasonable amount. $5,000. Who would like to start? The goal is about 50,000, right? We hope to raise 50,000 tonight. So inshallah, we can get it done. And by the way, usually 80% of the money is raised by 20% of the people, and the other 20% by the area. I've been raising funds for over 30 years, and this never lies. It's the 80-20 rule. So let's have the first 20% raise the first 80%, so that later on we can do the last 20%. Who would like to be the first one, inshallah, to give the first chunk of money, inshallah? How much, Akhi? 5,000? 5,000. Takbir. This takbir has to reach Union City. Takbir. 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 MashaAllah. May Allah Azza wa Jal reward you and give you barakah in your wealth and your health and your family. Say Ameen. اللهم آمين يا رب العالمين. اللهم أعطي منفقا خلفا. قولوا آمين. اللهم آمين. طيب, who's the next one, inshallah? Let's get a couple more, inshallah, brothers. Wallahi, yes, akhi. 5,000, inshallah? Akhi? 5,000? 5,000. Takbir. Takbir. So that's the first 10, inshallah. Okay, sisters. Sisters, وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. We treat you exactly like we did treat the brothers. So the same way that they give, you should give, inshallah. And don't worry, you know, again, in Yusuf al-Qardawi gave fatwa that you can spend husband's money, your money, it doesn't matter. Fi sabilillah, you don't have to worry. So if the sisters would like to give, inshallah, they can raise their hand too. Anybody on this side? We'll wait for you, inshallah. So who's got the next one, inshallah? Let's get at least another couple of 5,000s, and inshallah, we'll go after that. Yeah, why not? Why not? Just give it to them. Who's got the next one, inshallah? Another 5,000? Another 5 or 10? I mean, if you feel like giving 10,000 fi sabilillah. And I want to share something with you, Akhwa. Wallahi, I learned how to give fi sabilillah as early as I got my first job, back in 1982. And wallahi, every time I increased my sadaqat fi sabilillah, Allah Azza wa Jal raised my income. I have never suffered a setback in my revenue and my income by giving fi sabilillah. And if anybody wants to see the numbers, I'll share the numbers with you privately. This is the way of Allah. ما نقصت صدقة من مال, or ما نقص مال من صدقة. Hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, no sadaqah diminishes the wealth. No way. In ways that you and I don't know, but Allah will put the barakah. You spend 5,000, Allah will save you some loss that would have been 10 or 20 or $30,000. You don't know these things. Just trust in Allah Azza wa Jal. And let's do what these people are doing, ya akhwa. These people, millions, and if they are willing, I forgot to tell you, the 100 million that was offered, it wasn't offered by the government. It was offered by a community group right here from Washington, that when they met with this guy and wanted to buy that piece of property and probably donate it back to the Israeli government. That's how they work. It's community work. What does Kushner do? That's what he does. He's the head of an organization that collects money and builds settlements on our land. This is what they do. So who's got the next one, inshallah? Another 5,000, inshallah? Let's have two share 5,000, inshallah. Let's do like 25, 25. Who wants to do 2,500, inshallah? Who wants to do 25? Two people sharing 5,000, inshallah? We have to raise the 50,000, one way or the other. No biryani tonight. Yeah, 3,000? 3,000? Takbir. Brother Khawaja Mu'ayyid, $3,000. Takbir. MashaAllah, barakallah feek, akhi. May Allah accept your sadaqah. Maybe you should put a phone call to your brother and see if he would give the other 2,000. Brother Khawaja, call your brother and see if he would give you the other 2,000. We'll be done with the 5,000. And that's something that I learned a long time ago, ya akhwa. It takes one to know one. 2,000? So now we got the 5. Takbir. Takbir. We're up to 15. Every one of us has a social circle of about 200 people. If we were to leverage, there are theories and books written about this subject. There's a guy by the name Granovetter in 1985 came out with a theory called the strength of weak ties. In other words, if you know too many people, and even though the relationship you have with them is not that strong, but together it's like putting strands next to each other to become a strong rope. We need to use those relationships that we have. If you have people's phone number, pick up the phone and call them and say, do you find it in your heart? I can teach you the script. I'm a sales trainer. Just call them up and say, can you find it in your heart to spend some money for this project that's going to benefit your kids and mine? And if you feel strong enough about it, why don't you suggest an amount? Say, can we count on you for $1,000 or maybe $2,000? Should I pick it up or will you drop it off? It's that simple. But we have to be willing to do the effort. We don't need to have just this group here carry the whole burden. There are at least 10 times that many people who would probably be willing to contribute, but they couldn't be with us tonight. It's that simple. So reach out to them. Anyway, I was serious, by the way. Call your brother and see. Tell him, Brother Abbasi says, can you find it in your heart to give $2,000 to make my 3 into 5? And let's see what he says. All right, who's next? Who's got the next 5,000, inshallah? Huh? From him? Wow, that was quick. 1,000. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. See, he just got 1,000 from his brother. Because he knows he can go to his brother and say, give me $1,000. And his brother won't even say no. He wouldn't even ask because he knows he can trust his brother. Yeah, who's got the next one, inshallah? All right, so let's hover around the 2,000 mark, inshallah. 2,000 sisters? Anybody for 2,000? Well, here it comes. Thank you, sister. Thank you. MashaAllah. Sister Amani Mustafa, $1,000. Takbir. Takbir. MashaAllah. Who's got the next one, inshallah? Any more? Brothers? So 2,000, 1,000, multiples of 1,000. 2,000? MashaAllah. Takbir. You know how we paid the center in Union City? The community there is not as wealthy as this community. Many of them are taxi drivers and, bodega owners and just 6 kids, 5 kids. One day we owed, how much? 2,000? Takbir. Barakallah fiqh. May Allah Azza wa Jal reward everybody who donated so far and encourage those who didn't donate to donate, inshallah. So I'll tell you a short story. What we did that day, I don't know if Yasin was there. I was leading the fundraiser and I said to them, we owed 400,000. That would have given us clear title, you remember? And at that time I made the recommendation. I said to them, Sheikh Hanut was there too, rahimahullah. We said, look, let's break it into 400, what we call in Arabic sahm. Sahm means, شو يعني سهم? Share. Okay, somebody donated $2,000. We need an address. It's Brother Isam Kanawi. He's not here? This is on his behalf? Okay. May Allah. So basically another 1,000. Takbir, another 1,000. MashaAllah. So what we did, we divided it into 400 shares. We said anybody can donate 1 share, 2 shares, 3 shares, 4 shares. So we had people starting to commit. Say, I'll take care of 10 shares, I'll take care of 5, I'll take care of 1. Before you know it, we had the 400 and we were done. And we paid it 1 year ahead of time. We had a 7-year no interest loan with 200,000 per year. And it was 1.4 million, and the down payment was 250 that we raised from the first fundraising. So the last 400, we just got tired of raising funds every year, 200,000. We said, let's do the whole 400. We did the whole 400 in one fundraising, and we were done with it. And that's what you need to do here. You need to divide this. How many sahm ya akhi is this? Let's look at it. What do you need? Brothers, how much do you need here? Total. 175. It's 175 sahm. Okay, 175 shares. How much did we raise so far tonight? What do we have? About 25, approximately? Another 500, so that's what? 22, another 1,000. Takbir. So 22,000. From 175, that leaves us with about 150. So 150 shares. Each one of us has to make a commitment to either buy one or sell one, or 2 or 3 or 4. So it's like coupons. You can make them into coupons with numbers on them and pass them. And you take a book that has 10 shares in it, and you don't come back. You come back with nothing but the stubs, and you say, "Here's the 10,000, and here's the stubs, and here's the people that donated." We have to help one another. We have to become more dynamic. We can't just wait around, sit down, and at home and expect, Brother Abbasi to come and raise the amount, or brother this, or brother. You can't do that. Everybody has to take his share, brothers and sisters. This is how it's done. What do we got? Oh, mashallah, takbir, mashallah. So Brother Khawaja Mu'inuddin heeded my advice when I said to him, use your phone. See, these phones are good for something, not just, Facebook and stuff. So he picked up the phone, he texted his brother and one other brother. Next thing you know, he's got 2,000. So get busy. Oh, you spoke to him, mashallah. Wallahi, akhwa, again, the strength of weak ties. Imagine the strength of strong ties. Okay? That's another guy actually came up with another theory. His name is Bert. And his theory is called structural holes. What it means is that if you know 5 people who don't know each other, it's much better than to know 50 who know each other. Why? Because the 5 people that don't know each other, each one of them has his own or her own circle of 200. So now you got 5 times 200 that you can tap into. And that's a very, very strong theory in social science that basically says, look, it's one or the other. You either have a lot of weak ties, use them. Or you have very few but very, very strong ties, use them. But don't just sit there. In other words, use your social relationships. That's basically what it is. Khair, inshallah. So we're almost halfway. Let's stick with one number right now. Let's do one share, 1,000. And see who would be able to write a check tonight for at least one share or commit. It's $250. Takbir from Sister Quraishi. You can do one of two things. You can either donate yourself or you can commit to sell that many shares. I hate to use the word sell, but to manage to collect that money from somebody that you know or people that you know. Yes. Another 500? MashaAllah. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. We're crawling. We're getting there. So who finds it in himself to go out there and get a certain amount? Tell us what that amount is and how you're going to get it. Yes, akhi. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. May Allah bless your younger son. Another $500. That's a half a share. Takbir. $1,000 from Brother Muhammad Ghani. Takbir. Let's make a dua together for everybody who donated so far, inshallah. Allahumma a'ti munfiqan khalafa. Say Ameen. May Allah compensate those who spent fi sabilillah. Say Ameen. Allahumma Ameen. Wallahi, akhwa, when you read this, I was able to collect, actually one brother collected and gave me more than 100 ayah and hadith, but primarily a hadith that talk about fadl al-sadaqat, about the benefit of sadaqah. These are hadith sahihah. From the story of Abu Dahdah, and I've told you many of these stories before. I don't want to repeat them again. But how many of the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ participated in building this Ummatul Islam, the nation of Islam? Starting with the person who came in with a dirham in Ghazwat al-Uzra, who gave 1 dirham fi sabilillah, and the hypocrites started making fun of him. And Rasulullah ﷺ said, "Sabaqa dirhamun mi'ata alfi dirham." 1 dirham reached farther than 100,000 dirham. To encourage the Sahaba that you spend from what Allah Azza wa Jal gave you. If your capacity is $1, spend $1, and Allah will put the barakah. If your capacity is 1 million, give 1 million, and everything in between is acceptable, inshallah. I said this once in Route 1 Masjid, and one brother actually stood up and gave $1 million. Oh, Allah. How much? 1,000. Takbir. In that community, they were beginning to worry about the elderly, so they wanted to establish an elderly community center. And it looks like one brother was worried about his final days. So that project kind of like clicked with him, and he actually wrote a check for $1 million in Route 1. 500? Takbir, $500. Okay, who's got the next one, inshallah? From the sister's side, 500, 1,000, 2,000, whatever amount. How much? 500? MashaAllah. Sister here, $500. Takbir. MashaAllah. May Allah compensate you and give you barakah in your wealth, in your family. Who else, inshallah? Where are we now, akhi? How far are we from the goal? The biryani is getting cold and I'm hungry, so let's get it over with. How much? 29. So we got 11 more. So here's the deal. We can have 11 people give 1,000 each. Okay? We can have 11 people give 1,000 each. I'll start with the first 1,000. So who's got the other 10? Okay? Here's the second 10. Who's got the third? Come on, let's get it over with. 9,000 we need. 9,000. Who's got the next 1,000? Inshallah. Here's one more. Takbir. MashaAllah. So we need 8. 8 more. 8 more. We need 8,000 and we're done. Here's one more. That's 7. 7. 7. Takbir. 7. We need 7 more, inshallah. 7. 1,000 each. 500? Okay, so 6.5. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. So 500 to make that into 1,000. Give me 500 to make it 1,000 so we can go. That's 500. Takbir, mashallah. So now we got 6,000 left. 6,000. Let's get over with. Biryani is getting cold. 6,000, inshallah. 6,000 sisters. We need 6,000. We need 2 for 1,000 or 500 each or 1,000. 6. We're almost there. 6,000 is not going to kill anybody. 1,000 each, or one person can give all 6, can give 5, leave 1,000 to somebody else. Let's do it, inshallah. Who's got the next 1,000? If you already gave, brothers, I mean, what's a big deal if you have to add one more 1,000? It's not going to kill us. It's fi sabilillah, inshallah. 6,000 more, and we're done. 6,000 more. Sister, 1,000? MashaAllah. Takbir. 1,000, mashallah, sisters 2,000. See, I told you they will come through. Okay, so that's 4 more, inshallah. Allahumma ati munfukan khalifa. Say ameen. May Allah give the barakah to the sisters for making this night for us, inshallah, for making it a successful night. Jazakumullah khair. Who's got the next one, inshallah? We got 4 more left, inshallah. 4,000 more. 4,000 more. 4,000 more. What, 1,000? 500? 500. Takbir. So I need another 500 from the brothers to make up the sisters' 500. Come on, where's the honor? Where's the dignity? Where is the nashama? Who's got the 500 to make it into 1,000, inshallah? Yes, here it is. Okay, mashallah, takbir. So sister, he just finished your 500, became 1,000. Now we 3 more, inshallah. Another 1,000, 2 more, inshallah, takbir. 2 more and we're done. 2 more and we're done. Come on, 2,000. Just 1,000 here, 1,000 there, and we're done, inshallah. I see it coming. Is that a new one, sister? Okay, I'll wait for them. So we need 2,000 and we're done, inshallah. 2,000, we can go eat biryani. Hurry up. I'm hungry. 2,000, inshallah. 2,000. 500? That was cold already? It was cold, so 2,000. 2,000, we're done, inshallah. 2,000 will reach our goal. If I don't get the 2,000, I'll double the amount. We'll go for 100. And I'll stay here until the morning, and we'll get it, inshallah. So 2,000, inshallah. Sisters' side. 500, mashallah. Takbir. So among the brothers, there's got to be somebody with some honor and dignity and pride who will match up the sisters' 500 and make it into 1,000, inshallah. Who's got the 500 to make it 1,000? Here we go. Khawaja Mu'iduddin, takbir. Mashallah. Takbir. Tayyib, 1,000. Who's got the last $1,000? Here it is. Takbir. Takbir. The sisters had to have the last word, mashallah. Tayyib. Allahu Akbar. And anonymous, no, we are closing the donations. We're not going to, I'm just kidding. Tayyib. Barakallah fikum. I want Sheikh Walid to come in and make dua for us, inshallah. Make dua for everybody who donated. And hold on. Before I give him back the microphone, remember what I said to you. Please reach out. We're not done. We're not done. There's 175 remaining. So tonight we're raising 50. That means there's 125 left. And that's got to be raised.
Actually 40, not, you missed the numbers.
What do you mean?
It's 40, not 50.
I thought 50 we raised.
No, it's 40. We still need 10,000.
We need 10,000? Fine, then go back, sit down. What future? The future is now, akhi. This is the future. No, that's fine. 40-40 is fine. It's my mistake. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. Who can raise his hand or her hand right now and commit to bringing? I'm sorry? Oh, you have credit card machine? Of course. Yeah, we have credit card nowadays. We accept credit card. Who can raise his hand or her hand and say, I will get 1,000 from somebody that I know? Just like we did. Here's 1,000. 1,000. Who's got the second one? You got 1,000, inshallah. That's 2, 3, 2,000. Yeah. So that's 4 so far. We need 6 more, 6,000 that you will commit to bring, inshallah. And let us know who you are. This way we'll follow up with you. So 6,000 more that you will get from somebody that you know. 1,000, akhi? 1,000. Barakallah fiqh. So that's 5. We're down to 5. 200. 2,000 in an envelope. So we're down to 3 now. We need 3,000. 3,000. Who can get $3,000, $1,000? How much, sister? 1,000. Barakallah fiki. A sister over there is going to bring 1,000. Write it on a card or something. This way we'll follow up. 2,000 inshallah left. 2,000. Who can get 2,000 or 1,000 inshallah? How much? 500? Jazakallah khair. So the 500. We need 1,500 to make it into 50,000. 1,500. 1,500. Who can make a phone call to somebody and get them to donate $1,500 or how much, akhi? The whole 1,500. MashaAllah. Takbir. 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 We close the door, akhi. We're not accepting anymore. Another 500, mashallah. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless you and bless your money and your family and everybody. Jazakumullah khair. Barakallah feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.